Yes, so thank you very much, Bernd, and thank you very much to the audience for inviting me. With the PH Freiburg, with Bernd and the colleagues, and also with Samuel, we have years of collaboration, working together on this Geiger project and also in other contexts. And so I'm also happy to be joining on this DataPro conference. I have been listening to my pre-speakers and also thank you very much for this insightful views on this, the age of misinformation and this view from a different perspective on the topic, which was this opening talk, and also from Samuel seeing your educational layout and how the startup evolved. I prepared in thinking that I hopefully do not repeat too much my pre-speakers. So let me change my slides on my whole screen. Let's take this, and also to respect the time for sure. And so this is what turned out. I uploaded the slides for your reference afterwards. And if you have questions, I might have a look at the chat to know how this will work in parallel, but afterwards there might be time for questions. And please inform me in case you cannot hear me anymore, or the slides are not visible. Other than that, I just start talking. Good. So welcome from my side. And so before I start on a bit of an elaboration on the topic of social engineering in context of AI, misinformation, and how we teach this, or how there can be one approach of teaching in this field from FHNW and our school, I would like to introduce shortly my team. So working for the FHNW, similar to Samuel, who is in the room with you, I'm working for the School of Business as one of overall 10 schools from our university. And within here, I'm allocated to the Institute for Information System. And then you can see it here at the bottom, the Competence Center for Digital Trust. We have built as dedicated research teams since around about 9 years, and under the label of Digital Trust, we operate since 4 years. So just as a context, so we coming from the School of Business with the main target group of typical managers or SMEs as target groups and business students. And in the Institute of Information Systems, we are from this field, but a very business-driven field of information systems. And as this competence center for digital trust, you will see it's also the word trust is in there, yet we see this digital trust from, compared to my pre-speakers, more a technical oriented view on it. So we want to work towards a more trustworthy digital world in order to generate knowledge in the topic of digital trust, building and assessing trust into digital systems, digital technologies, digital interactions, and with our work create impact. And we operate more or less on 5 pillars that you can see here. And the main field of working is cybersecurity and resilience, where we do research and education more to managers on cybersecurity organizational measures, how to protect an organization and how to be resilient. Data protection is a strong topic on my personal agenda with education in that field. Also from a managerial point of view, how to establish data protection governance systems in organizations, but also from an individual perspective, what are my rights? And then for sure, we also assess emerging technologies to how they impact positively or negatively the trust in the digital space. Digital responsibility and ethics, it's also something that we work on from the individual point of view, but typically as well from the digital responsibility of an organization. And finally, we see this backbone of classical GRC, governance, risk, and compliance of any organization. So this might differ, this viewpoint or entry point to the topic might be in that context from our background a bit different. And our team has currently 16 members from diverse backgrounds. You can see that I'm co-leading this team together with Professor Dr. Petra Maria Asprion and a range of professors, lecturers, and a lot of senior staff or junior staff that supports us on our research. So I do not want to repeat too much on this challenge. So we all know that AI is a lever for social engineering, and here I put it on one of my slides. So just to say, cases of disinformation, even in Switzerland, with this smiley, yeah, even in Switzerland, these bad things happen. So for sure, we heard already a few of cases in this morning, and everybody is exposed to such kind of cases. Happen to be in going viral, as such this example that you can see on the left, that Switzerland would seek heavily for workers and have completely high salaries, and this got viral, this news, and linked to it was that it is a credible information, because indeed Switzerland has a gap in workers in some of the industries, and salaries also supposedly to be comparably high in the European or worldwide comparison. So it has some elements for sure that are credible, and then other elements which are however exaggerated and also address the feelings or a wish, or gap that would be addressed, and so have a level of being spread around very easily. On the right side, you see, or the other side of this slide, you see this case was more when we had this energy crisis, that saying fake campaign claims that the federal government is calling for denunciation of neighbors who are heating too hot, so that you should inform if your neighbors act in a incompliant manner, which is for sure also heats up emotions in that sense in Switzerland, where we claim to be a neutral society. And this is really disregarding the internal values or the core values of the society, how we perceive to be Swiss, or how it's generally seen as Swiss core values. Good, but with these examples and others you have at hand as well, for sure, we see AI fuels social engineering. Just to give some examples, we just had social engineering attacks or cyber attacks before already. I do not want to also overstress it, because the problem from my point of view was there already before, but it just is like a now another level of it, because automation of attacks is more easy than before. We have really the creation of hyper-realistic content in a more easy way, and advanced personalization. And so you can see it here, the advancement of AI fuels is hyper-realism, hyper-personalization to enhance believability of any social engineering attacks, or also misinformation, and the new level of automation, more efficient, and we have with this more efficient attackers, because in the end it's got not just also a business case, making an attack a business to gain and earn money. And so with this new level of automation, it also makes it even more accessible. And this in combination, as we heard already this morning, with this people's behavior change in how they access information, social media as an important source, and this quick production, dissemination of information due to AI, you can see, do we head towards this era of fake news, or declining of trust due to also other reasons we heard already elaborated. So let me directly come to the point that I want to focus main time on, is what are now possible approaches to treat this situation that we are in. And so I have this approach towards, could public bodies be the main actors protecting us from all these threats? Could technology be the answer? So fight technology threats with technology again, or third, so I put it with an exclamation mark, education as key. So just to give you a few samples, it's not comprehensive for sure in this amount of time, but to give you a few ideas of how to address from public bodies. Depends for sure on the region where you're in, but in Europe or Central Europe and in Switzerland, the trust into public bodies is very high. So there could also be an expectation that public bodies protect us. Whereas in Switzerland, it's also very common to have this self-responsibility as far as possible. Nevertheless, as Switzerland is a smaller, very small country, it's also maybe more or easier possible to apply measures, which we see here, situation monitoring and early detection, as all countries in Europe do, also done in Switzerland, like federal bodies assess the overall security situation and coordinate cross-department responses, propose actions in case of cyber attacks, but it could also be misinformation. Federal intelligence services monitors foreign influence. Swiss military also for sure monitors threats to member of the military before and during services. And I had been at an event where there was the Swiss governmental representative from the military, and we could really see that misinformation is here raising in importance. So half of the speak that he provided was really about misinformation and the threats from the cyberspace. And then collaboration with universities, like threat potential posed by AI-generated images and detection of influence bubbles, the plausibility of trends in social networks. So also collaboration between public bodies, universities, and the industry. Also, what is done with public bodies, trying to create resilience through awareness and media literacy from public bodies themselves. And just for your reference, what I found quite well done is the cybersecurity for you. So you see it here, the psi -s -4 -u. It's really small video nuggets on some topics of cybersecurity, data protection, in different languages. And as in Switzerland, we have also these 3 country languages. You have it in German and in French, and it's also available in Italian and in English in addition. So this might also be handy. Sometimes in international contexts, you just get this information here or this awareness material in different languages. Then for sure, communication from public bodies to debunk misinformation or informing the public. There was also idea to create resilience by a crisis-proof app from the public bodies, from the Bundesrat in Switzerland, to have like a resilience level, even if the internet would not be available, to have such an app to still be in communication with the public, to also prepare for worst cases. Regulation, I think Bernd had quickly dropped this term this morning. For sure, also regulations can be a lever or can be a measure for trying to get a fair level play, but can be only one of several. A law for fair and more transparent communication platforms and search engines is also discussed in Switzerland, in line for sure with the European Digital Services Act, the European Digital Services Act. And among this, there are also many more regulations in the market or in discussion in the European Union. And lastly, also from public bodies, but not only, but also public-related media, some fact-checking websites to help, to have some small tools that might help to treat disinformation or also more cybersecurity-related problems. Okay, so public bodies as one of the players to protect or to help combat or fight or handle cyber attacks. Second of my ideas was the technology approach. And for sure, there is a lot to say about AI as a threat, but similar AI as a tool to make cybersecurity stronger. And the bugs, so the public body for cybersecurity in Switzerland also had an publication on that or a statement where they really see both-sided versions, to also not just see it only as a threat, but AI also as a helping for making cybersecurity more powerful. Yet for me, it's always this a race. Yeah, you always have this attacker who is advancing, then you try to protect and so on. So this will also not fill the gap fully. What I have on this slide is just a selection of helping tools, existing tools for detecting AI-generated content, whereas it for sure needs then the will of the end user to really say, okay, I want to check this content, which would already indicate that an end user really has this critical reflection and wanting to check it. Then you see examples, and I'm sure there are many more of this, or I know there are many more tools of this, and you might also have your favorite tools of checking it. And they can be of small help to get an indication of content is AI generated, whereas have to be used with care. And I also don't see this as a really thoughtful solution to it, because only if a content is AI generated, it does not really give an indication if this is now the content itself is credible or not credible. It can be AI generated, but still credible content. You have a really lot of debates or publications around how good and accurate these tools are, and really depends on the setting that you give them, on the approach that you take, if you can get something out of it. So I myself am not probably the heaviest user of it. Might be a small help, but yes, I'd rather see it critical here. So to use technology as the main lever. And so quite obvious, I think also here in the audience, we might see here education as really one key to support or to empower and provide to the knowledge to navigate between this world of overly having information and seeing what might be fact and what might be fake, if this is possible at all. So in the future. The young generation is also extremely exposed. We have a lot of studies around here, some example figures from the Swiss Federal Statistical Office from 2025. 2 in 5 people use AI to generate contents themselves, text and images. It's highly used. About 4 in 5 15 to 24-year-olds use generative AI content to create content. So which might also resemble then our experiences in school or university. People encounters with fake news on social media keeps going up, so that we all, or the majority of us, encounters it as well in private situations. And with news verification, in this study, 38% say they don't check news or they don't verify news because they already know it's false, which is also a strong statement. Or 50% admit not having the skills to verify the truthfulness of information. So here on this last statement, we see it's also an own judgment of not having the skills for it, and is then also an entry point for education. So how to teach on social engineering or AI threats in an effective way. Just here to say, I do not have the solution for sure as well, but I have experience to share. And I think this is also in line with what Samuel said before. We have the experience that we can share that we might not find via just Googling or asking AI. So let me bring one concrete example, which might bring a new perspective on the today's list of talks. So we have done an offering in our school. It's an elective, which is done together with Swisslink University in Cameroon. So it's a country from a totally different cultural background. And it's a course offered similarly at FHNW and at the Swisslink University as a COIL. So I've got the link in here if you want to see it. It's a social engineering course with design elements that I see it as key to make education in that field really personal, because we might also be flooded with information on exciting attacks and so on. But I think also from this many news, we are already, it just maybe creates attention for a few minutes. Oh, there was this strange attack or there was this incident, but then we go back to our normal habit. So it really has to be made very personal. We want to teach this by creating and building upon relationships. And maybe here the new aspect I want to bring in is addressing culture and our cultural background explicitly. Why do we do that? Because we also see that the humanist element of cybersecurity and attacks, it's really the strongest element. So if we have this consciousness of how we might become easily victim or susceptible to attacks, this might help us. And culture might be another perspective to see, okay, how, if I'm embedded in a certain culture, do I have tendencies of belief or disbelief, of trust or distrust? And to contrast this with a culture from a different continent helps us also maybe to understand better who we are in contrast with another culture in direct exchange. So the role of AI in that course is that we will use AI just as a topic, and it's not the main point, but really we just want to have different topics of social engineering, and the core is to embed them in real-world examples across continents. So in this course, we explicitly target, for example, social engineering attacks via WhatsApp, and then we give contrasting examples of what would be a typical attack that might be effective in a Cameroonian context, because it's a we culture, very family-oriented culture, or vice versa in a Swiss context where we more have an individual culture. And we see that depending on the culture, there are tendencies we might easier fall victim to one or the other cybersecurity attacks. And this opens a new perspective into our students. So the course is also based on theory derived from own exploratory research, which I have for your reference here on this slide. So we did a study with a university in Cameroon on cultural influences on human cybersecurity behavior and drew upon that. We mainly based on the Hofstede cultural dimensions, which is a good entry point for contrasting cultures. It for sure also has limitations. Yeah, it's oversimplifying. It's also clear these cultures like Swiss are like this and Cameroonians are like that. So I fully also see here the limitations of this oversimplification. Yet I see the value higher compared to these limitations that it has. So we based it upon this model and use it as a baseline. And we also have a case study on our social engineering course, as you can see it on the slide. So if you want to read out a bit more about how we set up the course, and also, for example, the evaluation. So we did not typically, or not yet, quantitative evaluation, but some qualitative evaluations. You can read it out here because I will not have probably time to discuss it a lot. So just to give you an outline here of this course and of this module structure, we have this course every year, and we have an opening with an explicit introduction into the topic of culture, where we introduce typical elements of the Swiss and Cameroonian culture, and that we use them as a baseline for draw it to the topic of social engineering. It's then followed by, as you can see it with the learning flow here at the bottom, lecture inputs on topics like phishing, ransomware, business email compromise, the relevance of cybersecurity awareness attacks, but also the topic of mobile money, which is then more common in Cameroon compared to Switzerland. So it's also that we have here then really good learning from the facts or the social engineering topic, but also the cultural learning. A very core element of the module is that students have groups where they meet in so-called mentoring sessions and work together on a joint awareness poster and a video. So we have contextualized cybersecurity knowledge or social engineering knowledge with examples from Europe, with examples from Africa, and then we contextualize it across the regions and come up with a joint result. And these discussions between the students are also very fruitful. Finally, we do some overall reflections and lessons learned, also a lessons learned report by the students with regard to the technology learning, but also the cultural learning. And so what I appreciate also typically is the award and certification ceremony. It's also an example of different cultures where I then really read out the names of the students that passed the course, and which is a common or appreciated form of doing a ceremony in Cameroon, and also shows to our Swiss students how it can be different, how you end an exam or how you end a course, and how you really do a ceremony and speak out the names and do it very formal manner. And on the bottom here, you can see two links. So the first links is a news post that we have that can give you a bit more impressions with some pictures showing how these online interactions work and how this ceremony, then in the end, what certificate is handed out. And the second link is if you want to see a bit more of the lecture content. We adapted the material also now for University of Namibia in a Namibian context and published extracts of the material here. Overall, this course is embedded into a research project that we had where we built a so-called Swiss Africa cybersecurity community. At the bottom, you can see the 10 organizations currently from Switzerland and from different African countries, a lot of them from Cameroon, in this community, which also is operationalized after project end. And you also are invited to have a look here and reach out to us. And with that, I would like to close it, knowingly that on many of the aspects I had to cut short, but maybe we have time for some of the discussions. And so I'm looking forward to your questions that you might have, or if you also reach me after this talk or after this event, or connect with me via LinkedIn. So thank you very much.